Hey, Tom here, Flip Anything USA. So today we're going to talk about investors. What should I invest in? I get that question a lot. A lot of people have some preconceived notions that are very defeating. And we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to show you. I'll show you some of the deals I've done, and maybe even some of the ones my students have done. Many people that start to invest, they have some preconceived notions that really are defeating. Really bad preconceived ideas. So look, first of all, we'll talk about, what can you afford? I bought properties, the first properties that I bought, I couldn't afford them. So it's okay to look at properties that are beyond what you can afford, as long as you adhere to the fundamentals that I teach, which are always buy below market. If you're buying below market, you might find out that there's a property that is in your range, but it's worth $400,000, say, and maybe your range is, $300, but you can get it for maybe $250 even. Those are the kinds of deals that I look for. Also, let's just say $250 is out of your range. Well, you find a property that's $400,000 value and you get it for $250, you're not going to have any problem buying that property. You're not going to have any problem getting a hard money lender, or worst case, you can assign it to somebody, which is what I did early on when I was 20s. So what market are you in? The market I want you to be concerned with is whatever you're sitting in, whatever you're surrounded by. One of the biggest mistakes people do is they buy property in another city or in another state. That's the worst. Because I guarantee you, while you're buying property blindly mostly in another state, somebody in that state is doing the same thing buying in your neighborhood. It's absolutely ridiculous. The deals are right at home. I've proved that over and over again, because everything, I can throw a rock right now and I can land on a property and I can pick that rock up from that property, hit another one, hit another one, hit another one, and I can hit tens of millions of dollars in real estate that I personally own, that I personally negotiated. That is what's out there, but most people, they don't realize that. Back to what can I afford? There's a lot of leeway when it comes to like owner financing. And what I want you to understand is that when a person puts a property up for sale, they want to sell it. They appreciate when a buyer really wants to buy. So number one is have it in your mindset that you are, number one, the best buyer when you're going to buy something, and that you will close. That makes the seller have warm feelings. And when you can, you want to talk to that buyer if you can. If you can deal directly with the selling agent, the agent that has the listing, that will benefit you. Now, that doesn't always happen. If somebody brings you a deal, you want to honor that. They brought it to you first, and so you buy it through them. I've even had people that sometimes when that have represented me, that said, hey, Tom, I found a great deal. We start working on it, and I realize they're kind of in the way. And so what I do is sometimes I ask, in this case, my agent as the buyer, say the buyer's agent, I might say, hey, you know what? I can do better negotiating myself. Now, a lot of you maybe can't do that, but I will actually ask them to step out of the way, and I will pay them their commission on the side. And sometimes I'll let the broker's agent take the full commission, because the opportunity you get by having a broker represent you, the listing agent, and they don't have to represent you, but you want them to know you better than anybody else. Because if you have a relationship directly talking to the listing agent, even if you have your agent, it's important that you talk to the listing agent so they know you are the best person to buy. In other words, I don't have the ability to sell myself as being the best guy in the room to buy the property if all I'm talking to is the agent that represents me. Now I'm relying on him. I'm telling him I'm the greatest. He's telling he's the greatest. And so there's some strategies and workarounds that you learn in the mentorship. But for the most part, what you need to do is the listing agent needs to know that you are the best choice and that you are going to buy and that you can afford it. Now, establishing that you can afford it, look, a lot of times, I've had to say, yeah, I got a buddy with money or I got a partner with money. And sometimes that's how it's ended up being. Because if you're looking at a property that's beyond your affordability, sometimes you either need to go get a partner. In my case, the first deal I ever did, I went to my boss. John Brooks was my boss, and my old boss, the person I had previously worked for. And I went back to him and I said, hey, John, got this great deal. And he came out and took a look and he says, you're right. There's probably $70,000 on the table. This is back in the 80s. And so in that situation, we could have bought it together. John had a better idea. He gave me $20,000 and he bought it by himself. That was much better for me because I realized a smaller share than I would have got if we were 50-50 partners, but nevertheless, a nice big chunk of cash. So you can do that too. That's why don't rule out properties that are beyond your ability to buy by yourself. Okay, don't do that. Also, how much cash do you want to invest? So again, that's a limiting factor. If you limit yourself to, if you only have 10, 15, 20,000. Now you can do that. You can work on land. You can find something where you can get away with putting 10, 20% down. That's pretty common with land. If you get some owner financing, that's sometimes possible. I don't at all suggest you do a sub 2 in a declining market where you can put your 10% down and maybe clear out the agent, clear out the seller to where they're going to hold the note in their name, but you're going to assume their debt, the responsibility of paying it. Don't recommend it when things are tight. Unless that amount is like 60% of what it's worth, not 60% of what they paid for it, because the values could drop. But if it's 60% of what it's worth, then it makes sense, because you're not going to have any problem getting it refied or selling it to somebody else, as long as you adhere to my fundamental of buying below market. You got to buy like 30% under market. That's like a minimum. So, all right, so let's go to setting a price range. Yep, same thing. A lot of people, these are kind of like the list of things that people do that are wrong. Don't limit yourself by price. Why would you ignore $1 million deal that you can get for $500,000, even if you can't afford $500,000? It'd be crazy to ignore that opportunity, or not even try to find it. Looking for it is it's fun, first of all. Now, shopping rates, hard money lenders. Look, to me, this isn't terribly important. You can shop rates, of course. It's somebody that has the money that can deliver quickly. Because, and let me explain. People say, hey, Tom, this guy wants, 12%, 2 points. And I'll say, well, what's the deal worth? I'm getting this property $200,000 and it's worth, $350,000. And I said, well, that's fine. Give him 15% interest, 2 points, going to cost you $4,000 up front. And no big deal, because the alternative to that is having a partner that's going to take half of your $150,000 profit. Now it costs you $75,000. When you compare that, a partner taking half of the $150 is $75,000. Now suddenly just paying whatever $4,000 stiff interest rate while you own it is very insignificant to what it costs you to have a partner. But a partner is like a second backup. So you can't afford pay market value. It's very important. You never pay market value. Listen, the reason I've been so successful is because I adhere to always buying under market. Same reason my students have been very, very successful. If you haven't seen my students, go to flipanythingusa.com. Take a look at all the success stories. We got people that are just killing it in land, houses, apartments, commercial buildings, industrial. All my students are now buying everything that I buy and have been buying for 42 years, so don't miss that. One of the main things you need to take away from this is don't sit still. Don't sit static. If you do, you'll never make any money. If you don't do anything, you're never going to make anything. That's the truth. And so it's okay to look at what's around you. Some of it may be more than you can afford. That's okay, because you may get a break and find something that you can get for half of what it's worth. You got to know value. That's probably the most important thing that you can do. And don't go far away. And don't, throwing money at something far away is foolish. Anybody can do this. It just takes a little bit of discipline. Just use your head. It's really common sense. In large part, it's just common sense. If it's worth more, buy it. If it's not worth more, don't. If you keep your standards high, you won't be as busy as often, but you'll always make money. If you keep your standards low, you'll spend your money like that. You'll already be up to your teeth in debt. And that with a very big margin of profit waiting for you. So if you do that, you'll be stuck. I don't want you to be stuck. So let's go back to the desk here. All right. So that's really the best advice I can give you on that, on what can I afford. Listen, don't limit yourself if you do. And I understand people have the mentality, I just want to pay cash. I only pay cash. Well, that's foolish. I mean, it's okay in some instances. Let me put it this way. If you're building a business, that might make sense, because the variable is business out there, and whether or not you're going to have the business, that's different. Real estate, you're talking about finding something that you've already understand that it's worth more than what you're agreeing to buy it for. That's where the money is. Getting between what somebody has and what somebody wants. And look who's in the middle. That's who you want to be. The guy in the middle between what somebody has and what somebody wants. Anyways, so look, hope you enjoyed that. Again, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Never steer you wrong here. Get the book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate.